Good evening, everybody. Happy Saturday night. My name is Metal Mike. I'm your host here on the Huddle Hub podcast. This is your weekend edition of the show. Yes, we normally run on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but there's some schedule changes this week, some things going on, and that's why we're running tonight, opposed to tomorrow morning. Cam is on a vacation right now, so you got me tonight, and then on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it will be me and John giving you our normal scheduled show at the start of this week. But we are here on the Huddle Hub podcast. We're going to talk about the rest of the week of the NFL in week 6. Yes, we had one game already. The Eagles fell to the Giants on Thursday Night Football. I'm going to run down the full schedule of tomorrow's games, and Monday night games. We're also going to go through the news coming out of the world of football, and we are also going to get into the action that has already happened in college football today. Now, there's going to be more action happening inside the 8 o'clock hour. There's going to be action happening after 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because we got the late games that are out on the West Coast. So we're not going to be able to run down everything if there's any upsets or anything after, or during the show, but we're going to get you caught up on the action that has already happened. Okay, so before we do so, I'm going to ask you guys to please to head over to all the Huddle Hub podcast. Sorry, all the Huddle Hub podcast social medias right after the show, and click that follow button over on the Twitch. If you are watching on the YouTube side of things, go over to the Twitch channel, the Huddle Hub podcast, and hit that follow button. All the links to every social media is in the bio of the Twitch channel. So if you want to go to X and click the follow button over on the X at the Huddle Hub Pod, or if you want to go to TikTok at the Huddle Hub Pod and hit those follow buttons, it would deeply be appreciated. And over on YouTube, you got to hit subscribe to follow. That's how you follow on the YouTube. You don't have to pay anything, and help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast going through the 2025 season and beyond. So let's get into the swing of things here. First up, college football week 7, and what a week it's been so far. Right now, last week. Let's go back to 2 weeks ago. Number 1, okay? Penn State, who was a high favorite to get into the college football playoffs, and a lot of analysts were even saying this could be the year for this team. This could be the year that Penn State does it. They win a national championship. They're going to get over that hump. A lot of analysts were saying that. Then they meet up with Oregon, and they drop to Oregon, okay? Was it a surprise? Probably not. Because Oregon is a very strong football team. They are a very strong football team. They're very young at the same time. They have a lot of freshmen on that offense. So Penn State drops to them. Okay? No big deal. Okay, it's a Big Ten matchup. Penn State's still in the mix of things, even though they picked up this loss. And then they meet up with UCLA last week. Now, UCLA going into this game was 0-4. Not a win under their belt. New head coach comes in. So you're thinking Penn State can have a nice bounce back from the loss from Oregon by beating UCLA. Nope. UCLA comes in and upsets Penn State. Penn State drops their second in a row, and UCLA wins their first game under new head coach Jerry Neuheisel. Now, fast forward to today. Okay, Drew Allar last week says we're still in the mix for the playoffs. Now, number one, for those of you who didn't know, in college football, I'm a Penn State fan. Okay, but when it comes to doing this show, I am as unbiased as I can be, because when you guys are watching, you want to hear the positives and negatives about your team. So let's say you're a fan of, I don't know, let's pick a football team. Let's say you're a fan of Delaware. Okay, let's just pick Delaware for a second. Say you're a fan of Delaware, but me personally, say Penn State and Delaware were rivals, and I didn't like Delaware. I had a pure dislike for Delaware. I'm not going to come on the show and completely down them because they're a rival. Because you guys want to hear my genuine, thought about Delaware. Now, you'll want to know my genuine thought about Delaware, but you want to know the honesty of it and the realist of it. So if Delaware's doing good, I'm going to sit here and tell you, hey, Delaware's doing good. That's how it's going to be. Unbiased. And that's that. This show isn't made for me to come on here and talk good about Penn State or Philadelphia, or for John to come on and talk good about Florida State or San Francisco, or for Cam to come on here and talk good. I'm not sure what college team Cam is fully behind, but he's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. No, we're going to be as unbiased and real on this show, so you guys have an enjoyable content show to come watch. So we're going to be unbiased. Back on to Penn State, dropping their third in a row today to Northwestern. Had the lead most of the game, and then Northwestern wins 22-21. So I would really like for the question to be posed now, if they think they're going to make the college football playoff. And I think their answer would be no at this point. So, Florida State, they ended up dropping their third in a row. They lost to Virginia. Last week lost to high-ranked Miami. And now they lost to Pitt today. Now, when you looked at Florida State and how they started the season coming out and beating Alabama, climbing up the ranks very, very fast, they go from unranked to, 23 up to 14, 15, all the way up to number 7, number 8. I got to relook at the rankings because I do keep track of them week by week, and I keep that on file. That way, if I need to take any notes or I need to have information in front of me for a show, I have it right there at the grasp of my hand. You're probably thinking, Mike, there's the internet. Yeah, well, my notes work a little better for me because I don't have to sit there and search. I could just pull the paper out and look at it. Old-fashioned way. That's that. But Florida State very quickly climbs up the ranks. And now they drop 3 in a row. Florida State, when they came out and beat Alabama, the quick talk was, is this team capable to make the college football playoff? There was talk. Yeah, of course. But now they drop 3 in a row. And it's very hard to get that back when you lose 3 games, regardless of whether it's in conference play or not. You lose 3 games, your chances are very slim to none. You need teams to literally lose as many games as you. You need them to lose against teams that you've lost to. And that's if they even play the same teams you do. And then the point system matters. And if they're not putting up the points or getting the votes by the committee, then there's no way they're making it. And I guess you could pose the question, is Penn State and Florida State the biggest 2 downfalls in college football? Are they? Now, Florida State, I think they've redeemed themselves from last year. I think we've gotten some progress from them. I mean, they've obviously come out and won more games than they did last year. So that's progress. And does Florida State have a bright future ahead of them going beyond the 2025 season? I think so. If I had to pick one of the out of the 2 teams between Penn State and Florida State that's going to probably have the more success in the next 4 years, I would probably have to go Florida State. I would probably have to go Florida State because it seems like they can make that pivot to have the success. Now, only time will tell, right? I mean, you got the transfer portal, you got recruiting, you got all this stuff that can make things change in the drop of a dime during the offseason for teams. Look at Vanderbilt. You're telling me Vanderbilt built their team just off of recruiting? No. That's from getting guys from other schools to come over through the transfer portal and to help come over and help make this team successful. Vanderbilt's 5-1 coming off their bye week next week. Okay, and their true test was last week against Alabama. And we've seen that Alabama came out and completely in the second half just dominated them on the defensive side of the ball. All right? So the question is Vanderbilt going to be able to bounce back coming off the bye week? And only they'll be able to answer that question come next week. College football is a very intense but tricky thing to predict today. Because teams are going out and upsetting teams that probably shouldn't be getting upset. By the way, we got a scoring update. Number 12, Tennessee, has defeated Arkansas 34-31. I was waiting for that game to go final to update you guys on that score. So Tennessee moving to 5-1 on the year. They only their only loss was to Georgia this season. So Tennessee, it looks like, might be moving up the rankings this week because to get into the other scores going around college football today, unranked Pittsburgh, like I said, went out, defeated number 25 Florida State 34-31. And unranked Texas went out and defeated number 6 Oklahoma 23-6. Me and John talked about this game on Tuesday, and we both said that we think that Oklahoma will go out and get beat by Texas. The video is out there on the YouTube channel and on the TikTok right now of our talk about Oklahoma and Texas. If you guys want to go check that out after the show, I mean, it would definitely be appreciated. And make sure you're hitting that follow button over on the TikTok and hitting that subscribe button over on the YouTube. We talked about this, that we think Texas can go out and defeat Oklahoma. Now, when you look at the statistics between the two quarterbacks, John Mateer, Oklahoma's quarterback, 20 of 38 for 202 yards and 3 interceptions. Okay? You turn the ball over that much, it's going to hurt you. And that's proven. And everybody who watches football and everybody that studies this game, pays attention to this game, or even knows very little about the game, knows that you turn the ball over, it's going to cost you in the long run. And John Mateer, who a lot of Oklahoma fans that are following us on the social media, as they get into the comment section and say John Mateer is the most overlooked Heisman Trophy candidate this season. But when I look at this, 20 of 38 for 202 yards and 3 interceptions against an unranked team in Texas who has been up and down all year. They go out, lose a game, come back, win 1 or 2 games, go out, lose a game, come back, win a game, go out, lose a game, come back, win a game. Like it's flip-flop back and forth with Texas. Now, I wouldn't say that's unstable of Texas to do because they're getting used to having a new quarterback under center for them in Arch Manning. And John mentioned on the Tuesday show that even though Arch Manning may have shown some signs of, not being consistent, the guy's going out there and winning football games. Now, he went 21 of 27 for 166 yards and 1 touchdown. A lot of people will say, well, you want to talk good about Arch Manning, but look at his yardage, 166 yards. Who cares? Who cares? He went out and won the ball game. And yeah, it may not have necessarily been him to cause the fact, because you look at the stats line right now, the defense did a number on Oklahoma's offense, getting the ball turned over 3 times. Who cares? Who cares if Arch Manning would have thrown for a total of 10 yards and a touchdown, and Texas just ran the ball the whole time? Who cares? They went out and won. They went out and upset a top 10 team. Not a top 25, not a top 15, a top 10 team. So now Oklahoma, suffering this loss, is probably going to fall down maybe number 12, maybe number 13. It's not going to be a heavy fall, but they're going to lose at least 5 spots. And this Oklahoma team has been showing a lot of promise this season. And this is where the comments come on of, well, they didn't go out and really beat big teams. They went out and beat, Temple, and they beat, this team and that. Who cares? They still went out and won football games. That's what matters. Earning that W at the end of the day is what matters. Because you win, you succeed, you get on the path on where you want to be. And that's that. I didn't want to switch that. In other scores in the top 25, number 8 Alabama defeated number 14 Missouri 27-24. Ohio State defeated number 1 Ohio State defeated number 17 Illinois 34-16. And then as I'm flinging pens, I lost that one too. Good thing I have like 4 pens on my desk. And in an updated upset, number 7 Indiana defeated number 3 Oregon. Me and John talked about this game on the Tuesday show as well. And he was very surprised to the fact that I said that I think Indiana can go out and beat Oregon. I think they have the capabilities to go out and upset Oregon. I do. And I did. And this isn't me, toot my own horn. It's more the fact of, again, this is a very unpredictable season. Not only in the NFL, but in college football with the way teams are winning and losing right now. Let's take a step back to 5 minutes ago when I said Florida State and Penn State were favored at the beginning of the year, week 1, week 2, to make the college football playoff. Penn State during the offseason to win the national title. Fast forward to now, they both have 3 losses under their belts. That's unpredictable. You would sit here and think Penn State would have went out and beat Northwestern. You would sit here and think Florida State would have went out and beat Pitt. You would sit here and think Oregon would have went out and beat Indiana, right? Because Oregon has been a strong team from the go. But so has Indiana. A lot of people thought Illinois was going to go out and beat Indiana. Stop that train. Illinois went out and lost. Again, this is a very unpredictable season. And me and John did a small college football playoff talk for projections, and we're going to do it again this week on Tuesday. We're going to be doing the projections week by week moving forward because we are at the halfway point of the season. And we both sat here and said, even though Miami sits at number 2 right now and Ohio State's at number 1, we both think Miami has the big opportunity to go out and win the national title this year. And when you look at Ohio State and Miami side by side, you could probably check the boxes and say, yeah, these two teams, it could be close, but Miami might have the upper hand. Might have the upper hand on this one. Now, we won't be able to tell, possibly until that point. But let's look at Miami and Ohio State's. We're going to look at the rest of their schedule for the season. Okay? That's what we're going to do. And we'll run it down, and I'll sit here and say win or loss for these teams. Okay? Miami. They're coming off the bye week. They're going to meet up with Louisville next week. Miami wins. They got Stanford on October 25th. That's a win. SMU on November 1st. That's a win. Then they got Syracuse. Win. North Carolina State. Win. Virginia Tech. Win. Pittsburgh, win. Miami finishes undefeated. I'm going to say that right now. Miami finishes undefeated. Let's go to Ohio State. Let's look at Ohio State real quick and see their remaining schedule. Now, Ohio State coming off the win over Illinois today, 34-16. Illinois is going to end up falling down into the top 25, as we know. Ohio State got Wisconsin next week. That's a win. Then they got Penn State on November 1st. I'm going to say this right now. Penn State loses. Ohio State got this one. I would have told you 2 weeks ago after the Oregon game that I think Penn State still might have an opportunity against Ohio State, but now that's a wrap. Now, Ohio State beats Penn State. Then they got Purdue. That's a win. UCLA. That's a win. Rutgers. Ohio State's next biggest test will probably be on November 29th against Michigan. That's probably Ohio State's next big test, and that is their final game of the 2025 regular season. So Miami, who you look at the schedule on the way out, undefeated. Ohio State, up until November 29th when they take on Michigan, undefeated. But there's that question mark of, could Michigan come in and beat Ohio State? Because Michigan, who's been lingering around the top 15 for the past couple weeks, and they're going out and winning games. So we'll have to see. We will. Updated top 25 will come up on Sunday afternoon between 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Last week, they threw me off. They threw me off completely because I was doing preparations for the Tuesday show on Sunday last week, and they updated the top 25 at like 1 p.m. And when I went to go finish my preparations for the show on Tuesday for the top 25, I did it at 3 o'clock, right? Because I wrote down the updated top 25 at 1 o'clock. Because I literally have a book that I keep the track of this in, right? And I write down the top 25. And then 2 hours later, when I went to go write in the rest of the information that I write in, like I write in, plus and minus, whether they move up and down the top 25, then I put their record, then their opponent, and then I keep a box open on the grid for the final score of that game. And I went to go finish the rest of the information, and they went and updated the top 25 again. And I'm like, I got to redo this whole thing. So moving forward, I'm going to wait until like 3 p.m. on Sunday, or to play it safe, wait until Monday. So, but we'll get the updated top 25 tomorrow afternoon, and we'll have to keep an eye on that and see where things happen. We're going to take a 30-second break here on the Huddle Hub podcast. Make sure you're heading over to the social medias, hitting that follow button. We'll be back in 30 seconds. So please make sure you're heading over to the Huddle Hub Podcast social medias after the show and hitting that follow button over on the X, TikTok, and on Twitch if you're watching on the YouTube side of things. And if you are watching on the YouTube side of things, hit that subscribe button right now. That's how you follow on YouTube. You don't have to pay anything. And help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast going through the 2025 season and beyond. We greatly appreciate it. So after the show, if you're over on the Twitch channel, all the links to all the social medias are in the bio. So you can just click and it'll take you right to our social medias for all the other social media outlets that we're on. Videos get posted pretty much all week on the TikTok, on the YouTube. So announcements for shows happen on the X. So yeah. So you want to make sure you're hitting that follow button, helping us build and keeping up with everything happening on the Huddle Podcast. Let's get into the news of things coming out of the world of football. So the trade that happened earlier this week, Joe Flacco ended up getting traded to the Bengals earlier this week. Me and John talked about this on the Tuesday show. He was named the starter in the game against the Green Bay Packers this Sunday. Now, Joe Flacco was the starter for the Week 3 game against the Packers out in Cleveland. So Joe Flacco had started for the Browns in Week 3 and now starting for the Bengals in Week 6 against the Packers. He's playing the same team within 3 weeks, which is insane to think about because it's very rare to see that. To see a player start against the team 1 week and then 2-3 weeks later, they're starting against that same team for a different team, which is insane. Now, we've seen the quarterback issues the Bengals have been going through. Joe Burrow goes down for the rest of the year. But Jake Browning comes in. People think, Jake Browning, he's been a starter before out in Cincinnati. There's a chance he might keep this team afloat, might do something, and drop 3 games in a row. That's tough. Now, the Bengals, before trading for Joe Flacco, went out and said that we have no plans of moving anything in the quarterback position. And hours later, they trade for Joe Flacco. And the rumors were that they were going to try and trade for Shedeur Sanders. But, they went with the Joe Flacco route. They went with the veteran. And we're going to talk more about the quarterback situation, quarterback stuff at the end of the news segment here, because I got a little bit of a statistic that I would like to talk about that might blow your mind a little bit. Brock Bowers, tight end of the Raiders, he did not practice this week. He was deemed questionable all week and was announced out for the week today. So in the news today, he was ruled out for this week's game. This is the second week in a row that Brock Bowers is ruled out. This is tough for the Raiders. When you look at the Raiders right now and look how they built their team for the 2025 season, you think, man, new head coach, quarterback comes in who has a great relationship with this head coach. You're thinking maybe the Raiders might have an opportunity to come out and make some noise in the AFC West. They haven't done nothing yet. Now, do they have a prime opportunity to go out and win the ball game this week? They might. They might have an opportunity to go out and win a ball game this week. But who knows? I mean, they're playing the Titans. The Titans coming off their first win of the season last week. So they're boosted off adrenaline, thinking, okay, we got one last week. Awesome. Let's try and do it again. And Cam Ward, who called out his whole team a week and a half ago, saying, look, we got to get our stuff together here. This is ridiculous. We got to be winning. Like, we got to clean our stuff up here. And they did just that and went out and won a ball game. Now they're looking to do 2 in a row. So, but Brock Bowers, the tight end for the Raiders, out for a second week in a row. Lamar Jackson, quarterback of the Ravens, he didn't practice this week. He's out again, second week in a row. Now, he was announced out earlier today. So we are going to see Cooper Rush get the start for Baltimore. Now, Baltimore did activate Tyler Huntley off the practice squad. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Mike, that's not much of a move for the Ravens to do, to go out and activate Tyler Huntley. But they need a backup quarterback for Cooper Rush. They do. And it's a move. It's news. It happened. And the Ravens end up playing a very decently tough Rams defense. So I would definitely make sure that I have a backup quarterback on that bench ready to go at a moment's notice, just in case something happens. And Tyler Huntley is the guy that was sitting on the practice squad. So activate him, bring him on. So Kyler Murray, quarterback of the Cardinals, he was announced as questionable for this week, along with Alvin Kamara, the running back of the Saints. Alvin Kamara, he is suffering an ankle injury, so there's a chance he may not play this week. Miles Sanders, running back of the Cowboys, he was also placed on season-ending injured reserve. So Miles Sanders' season is done. So a little bit of a hit there on the Cowboys offense, especially on their run game, because Miles Sanders, he was the guy that came in on a second or third down. Starting running back needed to sit down. Miles Sanders would come in and get in for a play or two, maybe a series. This might be a huge hit for the Cowboys' run game. It might be. Now, if you've been watching me and John for the past couple of years now, we've talked about Miles Sanders in length. Went out to Philadelphia, had a pretty decent career in Philadelphia, goes over to Carolina, started having a lot of issues, especially getting up and down field. And now out in Dallas, I mean, Miles Sanders, who was supposed to be pretty much a Saquon Barkley predecessor, follow the footsteps of Saquon and his success, really hasn't been doing that. Really hasn't. And now he's out for the season, and this is putting a hit on that Cowboys run game. So Nyheim Hines, he did sign with the Chargers, I believe it was like a week or two ago, or he was on the Chargers. Not fully sure on that, but he was activated off the Chargers practice squad. the Chargers' run game has been in disarray as well. I mean, they end up losing Amari and Hampton. He ended up on IR. So their run game their running back room has been hit hard. And you look at the Chargers at the beginning of the year and you're thinking, okay, this team is built. They're ready to go. They even went out and got the drawing a blank on the name right now, running back from the Steelers during the offseason, and took that hit. It's going to bother me that I didn't remember his name, so I'm going to look that up. Because that is going to bother me beyond belief if I don't be respectful and remember his name. For those of you who watch, I do have a problem with remembering names sometimes. I do. Najee Harris. That's who it is. Najee Harris. So, the Chargers have Najee Harris. He goes down. Amari Hampton goes down. Now they got to rely possibly on Naeem Hines. So who knows? Rough go out in Los Angeles for the Chargers. Brock Purdy, Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, all from the 49ers did not practice this week. They were announced to be out for this week's game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Also, quarterback Mac Jones is questionable. So what does this mean for San Francisco now? The success they've been having with having Mac Jones come out, fill the shoes of Brock Purdy until Brock Purdy gets healthy. Now he's dealing with something. And he's been going out and winning ball games with backups. Right? Which is crazy to think about, that this team is 4-1 and doing it with backups, basically. Me and John ran down the starting lineup for the 49ers the other day. And it's like, man, Christian McCaffrey is the real true starter on that offense, along with a couple offensive line. That's it. But when you look at this offense, all backups, second, third, fourth stringers, and they're going out and winning ball games. Now, you could probably throw a lot of the credit towards the defense, who, obviously keeps a team alive in a game from stopping the other team from scoring. But this offense is scoring points as well. And they're coming in and just winning. Now, a lot of people might say that the 49ers might be the strongest team in the NFC right now. Because they're going out and winning ball games with backups? Come on now. The Jaguars and the Browns, they made a trade earlier this week. The Browns ended up receiving defensive back Tyson Campbell and a 2026 7th-round pick. The Jaguars received defensive back Greg Newsome and a 2026 6th-round pick. Now, the 7th-round pick that the Browns received, this is crazy. The Jaguars ended up getting that 7th-round pick from Philadelphia, and Philadelphia ended up getting that pick from the Browns. So the Browns traded that 7th-round pick to Philadelphia. Philadelphia traded that 7th-round pick to Jacksonville, and now Jacksonville trades that 7th-round pick back to Cleveland. I know it's stupid to think about, but at the same time, it's kind of cool to think about how that one draft pick in the 7th round ended up moving around those three teams. Terry McLaurin, wide receiver of the Commanders, is going to be out for his 3rd straight game, and Noah Brown is questionable. So, again, the Commanders, Monday night, they play the Bears. We're going to see a rematch from last year's game with that, the Hail Mary touchdown pass win, that miraculous finish last year that started the Bears' losing streak. They end up playing each other again on Monday Night Football. And Jaden Daniels, me and Cam talked about it on last Sunday's show about what this means for Washington and the possibility that Jaden Daniels has to pretty much carry this offense. And he went out there and lit up the scoreboard. So I'm going to sit here and say this right now. I think Washington has a good chance to win this football game, even without Terry McLaurin or Brown. I think they do. So we'll have to see. Jalen Ramsey, defensive back of the Steelers, he is going to play this week. He got cleared off of the injured list. So he is clear to play and good to go for the Steelers matchup against the Browns. So, yeah, Dylan Gabriel is going to get his second start, and it's going to be against Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. So an early rivalry game for the young rookie. We're going to talk more about that game in just a few moments. That's all I got for the news coming out of the world of football this week. I did say that during this segment that I had a little statistic that I wanted to talk about. Okay. Now, as we know, we are dealing and seeing a lot of injuries going on in the league right now. I mean, look at the Buccaneers. Almost their whole offense is on the injured list. It is. You look at their injured list and almost their whole offense. I mean, and you even got your quarterback in Baker Mayfield, who's questionable every week. You know, so, and they're still going out and winning ball games. Now, they've dropped 2 games this year already. Tampa Bay, you know, a little bit of struggle, you know, or no, they only dropped 1 game. I think they dropped just to Philadelphia. I believe so. I think they're 4-1. This is what happens when you pay attention to pretty much everything going on, is things kind of get mixed up a little bit. And then I have to go and correct myself. And then I make it seem like I'm not doing what I actually say I'm doing, but I do it. Before Buccaneers are 4-1. Okay, they only dropped 1 game. You know, only dropping 1 game, dealing with the injury issues. I mean, you wouldn't think this team is dealing with it by looking at their record, right? But they are. Now, the statistic that I want to talk about is the number of quarterbacks, different quarterbacks that start in a year. Now, so far this season, there have been 40 different starting quarterbacks in the league. 40. That's crazy to think about. We are 6 weeks in, and there are 40 different starting quarterbacks, okay? Here are the teams that have dealt with starting quarterback issues already. The Giants started Russell Wilson, benched him. Jackson Dart's the starter. The Commanders, Jaden Daniels, suffered an injury. Marcus Mariota became the starter. The Vikings, J.J. McCarthy, got hurt. Carson Wentz became the starter. The 49ers, Brock Purdy, got hurt. Mac Jones becomes the starter. Now Mac Jones is questionable, and they have Adrian Martinez, who is on the practice squad. So if they rule and deem out Mac Jones, then it's almost looking like Adrian Martinez will be the starting quarterback in this week's game for the 49ers. Okay. Now, if you add Adrian Martinez to this list, then that's 41 different starting quarterbacks this year. But right now we're at 40 because Martinez is yet to take a snap as a starter. So we're at 40 at the moment. The Jets, Justin Fields got injured. Tyrod Taylor became the starter for a week. The Bengals, Joe Burrow, he gets hurt. Jake Browning comes in. He gets benched. Joe Flacco comes over in a trade. He is now going to be the starter this week. I did include Joe Flacco, because he already started this season for the Browns. Now Joe Flacco gets benched out in Cleveland. Dylan Gabriel becomes the starter. Flacco gets traded. He's over in Cincinnati. Now, Joe Flacco's a little bit of a tricky part of the statistic because of the fact he did start for the Browns, but he's also going to start for the Bengals to become the Bengals' 3rd starting quarterback for the year. And then the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, injured. Cooper Rush comes in. Now, 40 different starting quarterbacks already in 2025. So I did a statistic from 2020 to 2024. We're going to start with 2020 and work our way up to 2024. 59 starters in 2020, 62 in 2021, 68 in 22, 66 in 23, and 59 different starting quarterbacks in 2024. So from 2020 up until now, 354 different starting quarterbacks in the span of 5 years. Okay. From 2010 to 2019. Okay. 32, 32, 49, 32, 32, 32. Between 60 and 70 back in 2016, 28, 32, 63. So between 2010 and 2019, 397 different starting quarterbacks. That's crazy to think about. Now, you got to remember that when we start the year, there's automatically 32 starting quarterbacks. Okay? And then as the year goes on, if a quarterback goes down, a different quarterback comes in. So it's crazy to think about. Crazy to think that that's how many different starting quarterbacks there have been over the years. And yeah, you look at the list of names, the same names are going to pop up. That's, because we get to the beginning of a new year and the same starting quarterback who originally starts for that team is on that list right away. So that's crazy. We're going to take 30 seconds. We're going to get into running down the schedule for the rest of week 6 in the NFL. Let's take 30 seconds. So make sure you're heading over to all the Huddle Hub Podcast social medias today after the show, tonight after the show, over on the Twitch channel at the Huddle Hub Podcast, on X, TikTok, and YouTube at the Huddle Hub Pod. Over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. That's how you follow on the YouTube and help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast going through the 2025 season and beyond. So let's get into week 6 of the NFL. We got a pretty big schedule coming up. The Texans and Vikings are on their bye weeks this week. So we have 15 games on the docket. We had the Eagles head into New York on Thursday to take on the Giants. It was a bad day in Philadelphia sports on Thursday. Let me just say that right now. The Eagles drop to the Giants 34-17. The Phillies lose in 11 innings to the Los Angeles Dodgers in game 4 of the NLDS, and the Dodgers move on to the NLCS with that win. And then the Flyers end up picking up a loss as well. So a bad day in Philly sports on Thursday. Let's get into it, though. 9:30 a.m., the Denver Broncos, who got a big win over Philadelphia, that 14-point comeback last week to move to 3-2, head into New York to take on, they're not in New York. They are overseas. All right, so the Denver Broncos, who are 3-2, coming off that 14-point deficit win over the Philadelphia Eagles, are going to take on the 0-5 New York Jets. I'm going to say this right now. Justin Fields, it seems like he is the biggest hope for the Jets offense right now, okay? Now, when I say that in the point of Justin Fields seems to be making the progress, trying to move the ball, trying to get the ball into the end zone, trying to score points. But the problem is that offensive line doesn't seem to want to protect him to where he's running around most of the time for his life, which is insane. Okay? They need to work on their offensive line. Their defense needs to tighten up. And the wide receivers just need to learn how to catch the ball because they have a problem right now in their wide receiver room. It's tough. It is tough right now. So I think, honestly, the New York Jets have to think fast on what they are going to do as far as getting their stuff together. So, me and John both went with the Broncos in this game. So the 4-1 Jaguars will play host to the 3-2 Seattle Seahawks this week. I'm going to say this right now. Me and John both, I made the pick for the Seahawks. John picked the Jaguars in this game. You go back to the Seahawks game last week against Tampa Bay, the shootout that they had, the statistics that came out of that game, the records that were broken coming out of that game. You could sit here and think, even in a loss, the Seahawks looked strong. They looked like a good team. Jacksonville coming off that crazy win on Monday night against the Chiefs. So this is a toss-up. I was pretty expected when me and John made our picks this week for this game. I had a feeling that we were going to have a differential on this. When I picked the Seahawks, I had a feeling John was going to take the Jaguars. I did. And that's just so what happened. So I think this is going to be a pretty evenly matched up game. And we'll have to see who comes out of that one. The Los Angeles Chargers are heading out to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Now, the Chargers, as we know, have been dealing with a lot of issues in their running back room. 2 running backs down. They signed Nyheim Hines off the practice squad. The Miami Dolphins, they seem to slowly start getting their stuff together. Could Miami go out and beat Los Angeles this week at home? Possibly. Like I said, it seems like Miami is starting to get their stuff together. So we'll have to definitely see if they can go out and win this game against the Chargers. I got to keep track of this stuff as we go for the socials because that's the bad part about running alone. I got to keep notes of what I want to post about. So I apologize who's watching live right now. The Los Angeles Rams head out to Baltimore to take on the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, we've been seeing it as of late. They've been dealing with a lot, whether it's injuries, whether it's miscommunication on the field, no consistency whatsoever. The Rams damn, let me start over on that one. The Los Angeles Rams head out to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Now, the Ravens, as of late, have been dealing with a lot of injuries, some inconsistencies, not being able to go out and finish ball games or win ball games. The Rams, on the other hand, they seem to just trip over their own feet at times. And what I mean by that is they can have a game in the palm of their hand, ready to win. You go back to the Philadelphia game, the blocked field goal, that was their game to win, and they couldn't do it. The Rams could win ball games, and that's been proven. Do I think they're going to go out and beat this Ravens team this weekend? I do. I don't think the Ravens have a chance to win this game. I think they suffer another loss, and Baltimore fans, be prepared. There's a chance right now, if Baltimore loses this game this week, that your playoff hopes may be in jeopardy. So we'll have to see what happens out in Baltimore between the Rams and the Ravens. The Arizona Cardinals head out to take on the hot Indianapolis Colts. Let me start over on that one. The Arizona Cardinals head out to take on the hot-handed Indianapolis Colts. Now, you're probably thinking, Mike, what do you mean by hot-handed Indianapolis Colts? Do you see what they're doing? Indiana Jones? Hot hand. Yeah, they lost a game 2 weeks ago to the Rams. Big deal. Big deal. They picked things up last week, got right back on the horse, and started riding again. They didn't let that loss stump them at all. But Arizona, on the other hand, they start off hot, winning ball games, and then they stumble over their own feet. 2 losses in a row right now. That's rough. Could it be 3 this week? Who knows? We'll have to see what happens between Arizona and Indianapolis. The Dallas Cowboys head out to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Now, the Cowboys, as I talked about earlier, have been having some issues in their running back room, but that's not all. The wide receiver room has been a small issue as well. Now, the Panthers, when you look at them on paper, you think this team is built to go out and win and to win now, but that has not been the case. Now, I am picking the Panthers this week to win over the Cowboys, but it's going to be a hard-fought win for the Panthers because the Cowboys and that defense will not let up and will not let Carolina just walk away with this one. The New England Patriots, coming off the hot win over the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football, go out and take on the New Orleans Saints, who are also coming off their first win of the season. Let me start over with that. The New England Patriots, who are coming off that big win on Sunday Night Football over the Buffalo Bills, are going to head out to take on the New Orleans Saints, who came off their first win of the season. Now, when you go out and pick this game, it's a toss-up. It is, because would you expect the Patriots to win? Probably. Would you expect the Saints to win? Probably. Why? Because these two teams are so evenly matched that this game may even go into overtime. And I'm going to sit here and say this right now. There's a chance that we could see our second tie of the season in the NFL with these two teams, because of how evenly matched up they are. All right, the final game of the 1 o'clock set, the Cleveland Browns head out to Pittsburgh to take on their AFC North rival, Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Steelers, they were dealing with some injuries on the defensive side of the ball. It seems like they're going to start getting some guys back as the weeks go on here. Meanwhile, out in Cleveland, they have a starting quarterback who is a rookie. They get rid of Joe Flacco, send him out to Cincinnati. Now they're starting Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, who will back up Dylan Gabriel just in case something happens. It looks like Cleveland is starting to get things together in the quarterback room for themselves, but that Pittsburgh defense, who seems to be getting guys back week by week now from the injury list, it looks like they're looking to get in there and beat this Cleveland team. So Pittsburgh, Cleveland should be a good matchup on Sunday in the AFC North. In the 4 o'clock set of games, the Tennessee Titans, coming off their first win of the season, head out to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, again, I said the Raiders, you look at this team on paper, and they look like a team that wants to go out and win, no matter what. But the Titans coming off that first win, I think they're motivated. It would not surprise me if the Titans go out and win this ball game against Las Vegas and send them home packing with another loss. So I think Tennessee might have this game in their back pocket. The San Francisco 49ers dealing with a lot of injuries, so much that they have pretty much all backups in on their starting lineup, but a couple guys head out to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, they're also dealing with the injury bug. It's looking like they're going to have a lot of backups in. This game is being deemed the battle of the backups, and who's going to walk out with the W on Sunday afternoon. In the last game of the 4 o'clock set, the Cincinnati Bengals head out to Green Bay to take on the Packers. The Packers, they start the season off hot. Then you get into the game that they took on the Cowboys in on Sunday night. Sorry. The Cincinnati Bengals, who have been dealing with a lot the past couple weeks, go out to Green Bay to take on the Packers. Now, when you look at the Packers, they come out, they start looking like the hottest team of football. Then we get to week 3, they take on the Browns, they suffer a loss. You get to week 4, Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys, and they tie. The Packers, are they on a downfall? The Bengals, on the other hand, are trying to figure things out in the quarterback room. But not only that, everywhere, defense, offense, special teams. The Bengals dropping 3 games in a row, looking to bounce back, and they trade it for Joe Flacco to try and do it. Can the Bengals go into Green Bay and defeat the Packers? Only time will tell, and we'll have to see what happens on Sunday afternoon out in Green Bay at Lambeau Field. On Sunday Night Football, the Detroit Lions head out to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Now, the Lions, the last time they played Kansas City on primetime was on Thursday Night Football 2 years ago, and the Lions came out and shocked the world and defeated the Kansas City Chiefs. Could the Lions go out and do it again on primetime? We'll have to see. The Chiefs, on the other hand, they're looking a little rough this year, not looking like the Kansas City team that we are used to seeing. So if you had to ask me the question if Detroit can go in and defeat Kansas City, I'm going to have to say, yes, I think they will. And we're going to see Detroit with another win come Sunday night. On Monday Night Football, the Buffalo Bills head out to Atlanta to take on the Falcons, and then the Chicago Bears head out to take on the Washington Commanders. 2 Monday Night Football games this week. I'm going to say this. I like that we get 2 Monday night games. Why? Because if one Monday night game's not that great, then you can go and change channels and watch the other Monday night game. That's what I like about 2 Monday night games. I have no problem with 2 Monday Night Football games. I would prefer the league to continue doing 2 Monday Night Football games. Now, is it going to happen this year? Probably not. We usually get this in the first couple weeks of the season, 2 Monday Night Football games here and there. I think it's something that the NFL should do moving forward, is have 2 Monday Night Football games each week. That way you have an option on Monday night, whether you want to watch one game or the other game. And if both games are entertaining, then there you go. You got 2 great games on Monday night. So me as a fan, I'm asking the NFL, maybe in 2026, we get 2 Monday Night Football games every week. All right, guys, but that's all we got for you running down the Week 6 schedule for the NFL. Me and John in the pick challenge right now, and this is the updated pick challenge. John last week had his worst week in a long time. John went 4-10 last week. I went 8-6. With that being said, John is 47-31 on the year. I am 48-30. So I am 1 game up for the first time in a very long time. At this time last year, I was 9 games back already, and it just got worse from there. So me and John have a couple differentials this week. The differentials are John has the Jaguars. I have the Seahawks. John has the Cowboys. I have the Panthers. John has the Buccaneers. I have the 49ers. John also has the Bears, and I have the Commanders. And I believe that is all the differentials. Let me look at this real quick. So John has the Jaguars. I have the Seahawks. He has the Cowboys. I have the Panthers. He has the Bucs. I have the 49ers. He has the Chiefs. I have the Lions. And then he has the Bears, and I have the Commanders. So 5 differentials this week. So, I mean, there's a chance that we can walk out of this week tied again, or one of us has the upper hand and has a plus whatever. So there's the chance. There is. Love to see. But that's all I got for you guys here on the Huddle Podcast. If you want to follow me on social media, Instagram, X, TikTok, Snapchat, at MetalMike714, that's where you can find me. I don't do much personal social media stuff. My social media stuff personally is just posting things here and there, just kind of like messing around and everything like that. I do most of my social media content, creating content here on the shows. And what I mean by here on the shows is I'm not only live here on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with Cam. Me and John are also live on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on Tuesday. So, and plus, so let me start this again. I don't only do the shows here on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am also live over on Rivet City Radio's Twitch and Off the Top Media's YouTube channel for the table spot on Monday night after Raw for WWE, and Wednesday night after AEW Dynamite on the Boom with Cam and Phil. So I'm not only here on the Huddle Podcast, I'm also over on Rivet City Radio and Off the Top Media's Twitch and YouTube channel on Monday night for the table spot and Wednesday for the Boom. You can catch those shows after Raw on Monday and after AEW Dynamite on Wednesday. Now, Monday, we will not be live because Cam, again, is traveling, so we'll not be home. And plus, Monday Night Raw starts at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We won't be live Monday at all. So we'll be live on Wednesday for the Boom over there. But I will be back here on Tuesday with John for another episode of the Huddle Up Podcast as we preview week 8 of college football and recap week 6 in the NFL. I just ask you guys one more time to head over to all the Huddle Up Podcast social medias over on X, TikTok, and YouTube at the Huddle Up Pod, and over on the Twitch channel at the Huddle Up Podcast. If you are watching anywhere else, please hit that follow button and that subscribe button. Help us build the Huddle Up Podcast going through the 2025 season and beyond. I want to appreciate everybody. I want to say I appreciate everybody coming out and checking out the show tonight. Again, I won't be live tomorrow because this is the weekend show tonight. But we will be back Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, myself and John. Until then, have a great weekend, everybody, and good luck to your teams. Deuces.